If depression feels like you're failing at life, Bauman would tell you something that can hit like cold water and relief at the same time. A lot of what you're calling personal weakness is actually the pressure of a world that keeps dissolving the ground under your feet. Stay with me because in this video, we're not doing empty motivation. We're using Zygmunt Bauman's lens to understand why modern life can quietly produce depression and how you can push back in ways that are realistic, human, and sustainable. Before we begin, a quick favor that truly helps keep the Paradox Garden alive. Subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. It helps the channel keep making slower, deeper videos like this. All right, let's go straight in. Bauman is known for the idea of liquid modernity, and the easiest way to feel what that means is this. In a liquid world, nothing holds its shape for long. Jobs change, relationships become fragile, identities become brands, communities become optional, and the future feels like a moving target you can't lock onto. Even your attention is constantly pulled and sold back to you. In that kind of world, depression isn't always only sadness. Sometimes it's exhaustion. Sometimes it's numbness. Sometimes it's a sense that your life has no weight, no anchor, no why. You're moving, but you don't feel like you're arriving anywhere. If you're depressed, people might tell you to think positive, be grateful, go to the gym, fix your mindset. Some of that can help, but Bauman would warn you about a deeper trap. Modern society loves to individualize problems, meaning it takes something that has social causes and makes you feel like it's entirely your personal fault. So you start treating your depression as a private defect, a secret shame, a failure of character, and the shame adds a second layer of suffering on top of the depression itself. You don't only feel bad, you feel guilty for feeling bad. You don't only feel tired, you feel ashamed for not being productive. That shame is not neutral, it isolates you, and isolation is one of the most powerful fuels depression has. Bauman's lens doesn't erase the reality of depression. It doesn't magically philosophy it away, but it can remove the lie that says, this is only because something is wrong with me. Sometimes something is wrong in your inner chemistry, yes. Sometimes there are medical factors, trauma factors, family factors. But Bauman would insist, the social environment matters. The world you live in shapes your inner weather. So let's name what that world is doing to you, because naming is the beginning of regaining control. In a liquid society, you're trained to be a product. You're taught, subtly, to perform yourself. You don't just live, you curate. You don't just grow, you compete. You don't just rest, you optimize. And when your value feels like it depends on performance, depression becomes terrifying because it interrupts performance. It stops the machine. It makes you slower. It makes you inconsistent. It makes you less marketable. And then you panic, not only because you're hurting, but because you think you're falling behind. Bauman would say this is a kind of quiet violence. When a society turns human life into constant evaluation, people internalize the evaluator. Even when nobody is judging you, you feel judged. Even when you're alone, you're not free. There's a voice in your head scoring you. And depression grows in the shadow of that voice because the voice never stops demanding evidence that you deserve your place in the world. Now add another Bauman theme. Uncertainty. Liquid modernity doesn't just change things, it makes stability feel suspicious. You can't rely on institutions, jobs, or even social bonds in the same way. The result is chronic anxiety. And chronic anxiety over time can collapse into depression. When your nervous system is always bracing for impact, eventually it runs out of energy and shuts down. That shutdown can look like apathy, disconnection, or that heavy feeling where even small tasks feel impossible. It's not laziness, it's depletion. Bauman also talks about how modern life breaks community into fragments. People are connected, but often not held. You can have hundreds of contacts and still feel profoundly alone. You can be seen and still not feel known. You can be watched and still not feel loved. That's the difference between attention and belonging. Depression often thrives when you have attention without belonging. Because attention is conditional, belonging is supportive. Attention says, be interesting. Belonging says, you can be real. So what does overcoming depression, according to Bauman, actually mean in practice? It doesn't mean Bauman wrote a self-help manual with easy steps. It means using his diagnosis of the world to choose counter-movements that restore solidity. To stop trying to outrun your pain inside a system designed to keep you running. The first counter-movement is to stop treating your depression as a private moral failure and start treating it as a signal. Not a romantic signal, not a gift, but a real signal that something is misaligned. Your pace, your meaning, your relationships, your environment, your self-demands. Depression can be the psyche's emergency brake when the life you're living is unsustainable. That doesn't mean you chose it. It means it's communicating something. Bauman would say the world teaches you to silence signals so you can keep consuming and producing. Overcoming depression begins when you stop silencing and start listening without panic. Listening doesn't mean you spiral into analysis forever. It means you ask better questions than "what's wrong with me?" Ask, "what kind of world am I trying to survive in?" Ask, "where am I being treated like a tool instead of a person?" Ask, "where am I treating myself like a tool?" Ask, "what am I missing that humans require?" Safety, rest, purpose, supportive ties, honest expression. The next counter-movement is rebuilding small forms of solidity. Bauman's world is liquid. Your healing needs something solid. Solid doesn't mean rigid perfection. It means dependable anchors you return to even when you feel nothing. One anchor is routine, but not routine as productivity worship. Routine as care. Depression loves chaos because chaos makes everything feel harder. A solid routine can be humble, waking up at a consistent time, drinking water, stepping outside for real daylight, eating something simple, taking a short walk, showering, keeping one small promise to yourself. These sound almost too basic, and that's the point. In a liquid world, basic care is rebellion. It's you refusing to let your life be dissolved by the day's randomness. Another anchor is commitment. Bauman talks about how modern life encourages flexibility in everything, relationships, work, identity. But your psyche doesn't thrive on endless flexibility. It thrives on meaningful commitments. Depression often gets worse when your life feels like it could be swapped out at any moment. So you recover solidity by choosing one or two commitments that are not about performance, but about belonging and meaning. A weekly meeting with a friend, a club, volunteering, a class, a project you do slowly, something that makes time feel like it's building, not evaporating. And Bauman would emphasize something uncomfortable. Community is not a service you consume, it's a practice you participate in. In a consumer culture, people approach relationships like products. Does this give me value? But real support comes from reciprocity, not transactional, but mutual. If you want to feel less alone, you may need to do the brave thing depression hates. Reach out first. Not with a dramatic confession, not with pressure, but with something honest and small. "Hey, I've been having a hard time lately. Can we talk?" Or, "Can we hang out this week? I could use a friend." Depression will tell you you're a burden. That's the lie. The truth is, asking for help is how humans survive. Now, because this is a high-stakes topic, I need to say something clearly. Depression can be serious, and philosophical reflection is not a replacement for professional support. Bauman's lens can help you understand the social conditions that worsen depression, but if your depression is heavy, persistent, or affecting daily functioning, getting help from a therapist, counselor, or doctor is not weakness, it's wisdom. If you're a teen, that can also mean talking to a trusted adult, a school counselor, or a parent heart guardian. You deserve support that is real, not just words on a screen. Bauman also helps explain why so many people feel depressed even when life looks fine, because modern life often replaces meaning with stimulation. You can be busy and still feel empty, you can be entertained and still feel hopeless, you can be successful and still feel like you're disappearing. That's because meaning isn't the same as activity. Meaning is the sense that your actions are connected to something that matters beyond short-term dopamine. Depression can be the collapse that happens when you realize your life is full but not fulfilled. So a major counter-movement is rebuilding meaning, but not as a sudden life purpose epiphany. Meaning is built through attention and contribution. Ask yourself, what kind of suffering do I want to reduce in the world, even in a small way? What kind of beauty do I want to create? What kind of person do I want to become? You don't need a grand mission statement. You need a direction. Bauman would argue that when society gives you endless choices but little guidance, you feel paralyzed. Direction reduces paralysis. One small direction can be enough to start. Here's a Bauman-style truth that can be hard to hear. The world will not give you stability for free. You have to build your own islands of stability inside a sea of uncertainty, and that means being selective about what you allow into your mind. Modern life pushes constant comparison. Social media is basically a comparison engine. It trains you to look at other people's highlight reels and interpret them as evidence that your life is behind. Depression loves comparison because comparison turns your inner pain into a verdict. Everyone is living, and I'm stuck. Bauman would say, consumer society needs you to feel insufficient, so you keep searching for the next thing that promises completion. So overcoming depression includes resisting comparison as a daily practice. Not by pretending you don't care, but by deliberately reducing exposure to the environments that weaponize your attention against you. Another key Bauman would point toward is dignity. Depression often strips dignity because it makes you feel powerless. So reclaiming dignity matters. Dignity is not arrogance. Dignity is treating your own life as worthy of care even when you don't feel like it. It's doing the next right thing, even without motivation. It's speaking to yourself like you would speak to someone you love. It's refusing to call yourself lazy, weak, broken, worthless. Those words don't describe you. They describe the depression. Now, let's deal with the title's promise. How to Overcome Depression, according to Zygmunt Bauman. In Bauman's universe, overcome doesn't mean you permanently eliminate sadness. It means you stop letting the liquid world define your inner value. You stop treating yourself like a disposable object. You stop living as a constant audition. You begin to build a life that can hold you. What does that look like day to day? It looks like choosing fewer things more deeply. Consumer culture says, more options, more stimulation, more speed. Healing often says, fewer options, more depth, more slowness. Eat simpler, sleep more consistently, speak to fewer people, but more honestly. Make fewer promises, but keep them. Pick one hobby and stay with it long enough to feel progress. Learn to be bored without panicking. Boredom is not a failure. It's the doorway back to yourself. It also looks like accepting that depression changes your time sense. When you're depressed, the future shrinks. Everything feels permanent. You think, this is how I am. Bauman would remind you that in a world of constant change, nothing is permanent, your depression included. That doesn't mean it ends tomorrow. It means it's not your identity. It's a condition, a season, a signal, something you can work with. And here's the paradox that belongs on this channel. Letting go of the demand to feel good can be the beginning of feeling better. When you obsess over, I need to stop feeling this, you add pressure. When you shift to, I will care for myself while feeling this, you create space. Space is where healing starts. Let's bring in another Bauman theme, responsibility, not blame. Responsibility as responsibility, the ability to respond. Depression often feels like you have no choices, but you usually have small choices, tiny ones, and tiny choices rebuild agency. Agency is oxygen. When you're depressed, don't ask yourself to change your life in one day. Ask yourself for one response that supports life, one shower, one walk, one meal, one text to someone safe, one appointment scheduled, one honest conversation, one page read, one room cleaned, one prayer if you're religious, one moment outside in sunlight. These are not cliches. They are how you build a bridge out of a hole. Because the truth is, depression doesn't only live in thoughts. It lives in isolation, in disconnection from body, in lack of sunlight, in irregular sleep, in constant digital overwhelm, in the absence of supportive ties. The solution is not a single mindset trick. It's rebuilding a humane life. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, but I feel too empty to do any of that, I want you to hear this. Emptiness is not a command to give up. It's a sign you need gentleness and structure at the same time. Gentleness means you stop attacking yourself for being depressed. Structure means you do one small action anyway, not because you feel like it, because you are worth it. And if you need a simple Bauman-inspired frame, it's this. Your depression may be intensified by a world that treats people as replaceable. Your healing will be supported by practices that treat you as irreplaceable, practices that give you belonging, rhythm, meaning, and dignity. Now, I want to ask you something, and I really want you to answer in the comments because this is the Paradox Garden, and we build these videos together. When you think about your depression, what feels heavier, the sadness itself, or the feeling that you have to carry it alone? And what part of modern life makes it worse for you? Comparison, speed, uncertainty, or loneliness? And if this video helped even a little, please subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. It genuinely helps keep the channel going and helps these deeper conversations reach the people who need them.